Hi, this is a quick tutorial to go along with the IHWH printed and digital set that you would have received with this link. So just to start off, this is what your directions page would look like. This is the sixth grade vocabulary version. So your color and what the actual cards are might be a little different, but the directions are all the same. So there are two main versions. You have a printable version and you have a Google Slides version. Just to start off, the printable version, I just want to make sure that you understand how a IHWH works. So there's a whole class directions, partner directions, and individual directions here. And just on a side note, there are some fun extension ideas here on the third page if you'd like to take it up a notch. So a basic IHWH set of cards, every student, you'd shuffle the cards for the printable version, and you would give each student a card. This set that we're talking about today has 28 cards. So if you have exactly 28 students, that works out perfectly, and every student has one card. Of course, we're not always exactly one number, so maybe you have 20 students. So there'll be 8 extra cards. So 8 students, you'll have to pick 8 students to give an extra card to. So those would be the students you know could handle having 2 cards. So the way it works is they start with the first card, and it will say, I have the first card, who has, and then they read a definition. And then the student who has, or it could also be an operation depending on your set. And the student who has either the answer or the term they're talking about would say, I have, and then they would read their who has. So for example, this one right here says, I have area. Who has the measure of the distance around a figure? So that's a perimeter. So they're looking for perimeter. So they would say, I have perimeter. Who has? And then they would read that next definition, and then whoever has that term would continue. And you would go in this manner until you get to the card that says, they would say, I have whatever that term was, and then I have the last card. So then the game ends. So that's the printed basic version. In this set, your IHWH printed version looks like this. So you have 28 cards. There are 4 to a page. So you just print them, and you can cut them and pass them out. You could laminate them if you can use them more than once, or you could make them single use and you throw them away. But this is what the printable version looks like. Now let's move on and talk about the Google Slides version. And this is the one that's going to be a little different for some people. And I'm going to show you in this tutorial how to do that with your students. So there's whole class directions, and I'm going to go over that. I want to point out real quickly, right here, there's a link to a Google add-on that talks to you, or a video rather, that shows you how to add that Google add-on. When we do it in a minute, I already have the add-on, but if you do not and would like it, this little tutorial will show you how to add that on. It's a wonderful way to shuffle sets, so I want to talk about that in a minute. All right, so let's go on over to our Google slide. So here's the whole master set. The first page has some teacher directions for you. Since this is my master, I'm going to actually end up sharing this with students, and I don't want my master to be messed up. So I'm going to start by clicking File, Make a Copy of my entire presentation. You can put it in whatever folder you want, however you organize. And once I have my copy, which is loading right now, this is where I'm going to be sharing with the students, because now whatever they do to this isn't going to worry me because I still have my master and I can go back to that if necessary. So here's my set. The first page are my teacher directions. So this is not something students need. So I'm just going to delete this slide. Now I have 28 slides with 28 different cards, one on each slide. Now, again, if I have 28 students, that works out perfectly. Some students, if I don't have 28, I might have to give 2 slides to a student. Now, right now, all of these cards are actually in order. So the first card leads to the second card, and the second card's definition is the third card. I do not want to pass this out to students in that order, because what's the point of this if they already know what's coming? So I want to shuffle all these up. This is where that add-on I just mentioned is really great, because I could physically drag these and manipulate them and move them around, but that can be a bit of a pain. I want to make my life easy. So all I have to do is select all of my cards. So now I have all of them highlighted. And if you don't know how to do that, you click the first card and the last slide while holding down the shift button, and it selects all of them. I go over here to add-ons, slide toolbox. So, and remember, if you don't know how to do this, the directions are in that first page if you don't have slides toolbox. And I'm going to open. There's lots of things slide toolbox can do. We're going to focus on the shuffle, which is in page tools. Just scroll down a little bit till you see this little guy. And when I click this, watch what happens over here to my cards. They're all shuffled up. So the first card is now, where did they put it? The first card is now my 21st card. So that's a pretty cool, so now they're all shuffled up and they're out of order. So now I'm ready to share this with my students. Really easy way to do it is to go over here and click your share button. Get the link, and you want it to be, the easiest is anyone with the link. And you want them to be an editor, not a viewer. That means they're going to be able to change things on the slide, and you want them to be able to type their name in and claim a slide. So you want them to be an editor. So copy your link, click done, and then share that link with your students. Now, this will be different wherever you are. So if you are in Canvas, you can just post that link and tell the students to go to that link. If you are in Google Classroom, you can also share a link. You can also share this file through Google Classroom. If you want to just share it via email, you can do that as well. If you have a web page or however you can post a link, you can share it. And anybody with that link would end up coming back to this document that we're looking at right now, and they would all be able to manipulate it. Now, we have 28 slides, and you have some students that need to start claiming these slides. So there is an easy way, which I suggest, which is make sure that your students are assigned a number. So perhaps Erin is assigned number 1. So Erin would find slide 1, and she would type her name right there. Let's say Jason was number 2, so he would find slide 2 and type in Jason. So now as the students come, they find their slide, they type their name in, and now they know which slide is theirs. And you would continue doing this. If you have fewer students than you have slides, then you'll simply need to say, perhaps Erin and Jason, you're going to be slides 27 and 28, or however you decide to do it. And those students would be responsible for 2 slides. Okay? So now they're ready to play. So whomever was slide 21, which was where our first card is, so whatever student was assigned 21, they would begin and say, I have the first card. Who has a comparison of any 2 quantities? Examples are red to blue or 3 to 5. So whomever has ratio would say, I'm just looking for it, there it is. So slide 13, so whatever student was number 13 would say, I have ratio. Who has the distance a number is from 0? And then whomever has absolute value would say, I have absolute value. And this would continue until the last card was claimed, and that would be whomever was student number 4. They would be the last card, and they would say, I have inequality. Who has? And then they say, this is the last card. So then the game is over. Now, let's say you're like, the kids had a great time. We want to do this again. This is the beauty of a digital version instead of the paper version. Instead of having to collect them, shuffle them, and pass them back out, you as the teacher just go back up here, grab them all, go back to add-ons, slide toolbox, open it up again, go to your page tools, to your shuffle button, shuffle those cards back up again. Now, if you remember, Erin was 1 and Jason was student 2. So now when they come over here, Erin is no longer going to be the first card. Her card's been moved somewhere else. So Erin's actually moved down to 9. But Erin is still student 1. So Erin's just going to go back to that slide 1, and she's going to say, all right, Jason, I'm going to take your name off because now I am slide 1. And Jason would come to slide 2 because he was student 2, and he would type in Jason over whomever's name was there before. And they would continue going on. So whoever is 4 would erase Aaron's name and type their name in this box. And then you would continue the same way. So the student with the first card would begin, and they would do the round until they got to student 3, which has the last card now that they're shuffled. Another really cool way to play this game, and it's mentioned over here in the individual directions, this would be a great way to take this set of cards and share them with your students, and they would organize them from the first card to the last card. Now, in this case, we don't want them all sharing the same card. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to share again. And anyone with the link, you still want it to say edit. So you're going to copy that link. I'm going to show you a really neat trick. If I go up here and I paste my link here, do you see at the end there's a slash and it says edit, question mark, and then all of this. I'm going to back that up. And instead of that, I'm going to type the word copy. And I'm going to copy this whole new URL. And this is the URL I'm going to push out to students. So again, however you push out a link to a student, push out this link to your students, say, all right, now I want you to do this one. When your students click on that link, they're going to see this. And what this is doing is it's forcing a copy. So now they're not actually sharing a document. Now they have their own copy, and whatever they do to it is only going to be done by them. Okay, so what you want to tell them to do is, you now have the cards. They're all mixed up. Your job is to go and put them in order from the first card to the last card, so that card 1 leads to card 2, leads to card 3, all the way till you get to the last card. So to start off, grab that last card. They would move it down to the bottom. Then they'd find that first card. They'd make sure that's up at the top. So there's the first card. So the first card has a comparison of any two quantities. So that is ratio. So they would go and find ratio. They know that has to be the second card. So there's ratio. So right now it's in 17. I want to move that up to the second card. And then after ratio, who has the distance a number is from 0? So that's absolute value. So they would go find absolute value, move that up to the third spot. And they would continue doing this. And if they do it correctly, the last card, the second to last card, will lead to that one that says last card for number 28. So that's a fun way to just kind of make sure they all know their vocabulary, or whatever the skill is that the set is. And they can do it individually as a homework assignment, or in a culminating activity for the end of a lesson, or however you want to assign it. When they're done, they can share it with you by clicking share. And then they just have to type in your name or address, email address right here, and you'll get an indicator that it was shared, and then you can see it and see if they got it right. All right, and that is it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a great time with this activity. Thanks.